Okay. So I wanted to just ask you a few quick questions. Oh, first of all, I want to get your email address too, because I got some information for you, and I just wanted to. I put it in a zip file.
Okay.
What's your email?
Okay, it's LEOH 1031 at AOL.com.
Okay. Yeah, I put it in a zip file, and you can. There's like a number of PDFs in there. And,
Okay.
And I also found some stuff on the Cuba scenario where, they came out with this lung cancer vaccine and stuff. And
Okay.
actually, the United States is trying to encompass that into their program. But they've had it a long time because in Cuba they used to smoke a lot of, well, they still do, a lot of cigars.
Cigars, right.
Yeah, and so that's why they, were pro in coming up with this. And I think Canada had something like this too. The United States was just remiss in kind of come up with something. But anyway, you could check it out and see. And then also I put some stuff in terms of eating and remember I was talking about the alkaline diet, which
Right.
is more the Mediterranean and stuff like that. But it's more fruits, vegetables, nuts, the stuff like that. And then salmon and stuff like that, which is high omega-3, and there's certain things that are cancer retardants and that stop the spread or the increase of the cells and stuff like that. And those are and getting rid of certain things like processed meats and like bacon is really a processed meat. Plus, it has sodium nitrate in it, which is a cancer-causing ingredient. So there's a number of meats that they do it to prolong the life of a meat, like certain meats like lunch meats and stuff like that, which is not really good for you. But they do it just because of they're making money and this, that, and the other.
Right.
But it's not really that good for you. So you kind of have to stay away from those kinds of things. And but it's in these articles too. I'm just kind of giving you an overview, but it's and there's certain vegetables like bell peppers and stuff that are good for you. Broccoli is good for you, and you kind of want to eat those. I mean, if you can for a while. Some people can't. Like my mom can't. I say, you should try to go vegetarian for a while and just detox your system. But her thing is, if ain't no meat on that plate, don't even give me the plate. So, so it's kind of hard with some people. But if you can do that and do a cleanse, you want to get the toxins and all that kind of stuff out, and then you're kind of like rebooting your system. But yeah, just read some of those articles and stuff like that. Oh, and then there's I don't know if I told you that, Dr. Sebi, but you should look him up too. It's CEBI, Dr. Sebi, and he has come up with cures for not just cancer, but diabetes and all kinds of things. And the FDA and they had actually taken him to court because once you go against Western medicine, they don't like that because they make more money on Western medicine. So they actually took him to court, and they had to. They were saying, we're gonna fine you, throw you in jail, and do all kinds of stuff to you if you can't substantiate these claims. And so they said, bring a couple people in to let us hear from them that you said you cured them. Let's hear from them. well, he not only brought a couple people, he brought over 100 people.
Yeah, you told me that, right?
Yeah, okay, well, I told you that. Okay, good. So, but he is a person that, his office is out of Los Angeles. Let me see if I have his number. And they have, let's see, Dr. C, they have stuff that helps, and, one second, it is SEBI. Yeah, it's 310-838-2490. That's 310-838-2490.
Let's see, 8, you said 838.
No, yeah, 310 first.
Oh, 310, okay.
And then 838
Uh-huh.
2490. And you can tell them, what you're calling for, and whatever the regiment plan would be, they'll tell you what it is, and you
And that, the name was Dr.
CB, SEBI, Dr. C.
SEBI, CB.
Right. And you may Google him first if you want. And it'll give you that number that I just gave you too.
Oh, okay.
But just research that, and at this point I would be researching everything I could, but definitely him, because he used to do all this kind of stuff, and he has people taking over his practice and this, that, and the other. But anyway, so those kind of may be some helpful things, and I'm gonna send that zip to you.
Okay.
When we get done too, just so you could read some of that stuff. But what I wanted to you are very you're very articulate, and you remember a lot of stuff that happened in Hammond, and I get certain recollections and stuff, but from various people, but you take it to another level, which is actually great for me.
Yeah, but remember, I lived in Hammond from when I was born until 19, when I went into the military, and I was away for 40 years.
Okay.
And then I came back after my military career, and then I retired from our company in D.C. So I missed a lot of the history of Hammond,
But when you were there, when you born there and this, that, and the other, how long were you there before you went to the military?
Yeah, I was 19.
Oh, you were 19. So you lived there from 0 to 19.
Yeah, from 1931 until 1949.
Oh, okay.
And I went into the Air Force. Right.
Okay. Well, in those first 19 years, there were certain people that I wanted to just ask you about, and not just the people, but the recollections of just kind of how it was. And I'm trying to really build an environment of Hammond, and then also some of the things that your parents and grandparents have told you, because what I'm also doing is 365 days of quotes and stuff from various people that help, black people survive. Like if your grandparents said, son, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and what I would do is you tell me that, and I'll use some of those as quotes that will come up. And I don't know if you've heard of Twitter or any of that stuff, but it'll be sent to, Hammond residents, and Twitter and Facebook, and not just that, but the website and this, that, and the other. So so in our conversation now, if you think of anything that was used by your parents or grandparents or even you that could help a younger person or generation just in terms of philosophy that would help in kind of perpetuating the old adage of, it takes a village to raise a child. So in this project, it took everybody in Hammond, East Hammond, black people, to raise all the other black people. And it was a situation where I know my mom gave anyone the right to spank me, and then if I did something wrong, and come home and I get another spanking. And it was not out of just giving people rights to, beat on your kids. It was, raising them to be, act appropriately and do certain things. And I was kind of out of love. Of course, as a kid, you didn't know that.
Right. They sure don't know it today.
Well,
we knew then that it was out of love because they wanted us to go the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So did your parents give everyone that right as well?
Okay, let me tell you about my parents. Insofar as grandparents, I never knew my grandparents because they were down in Tennessee. But I do know this. I may have told you this before, that my father's father, who was my grandfather, he lived in Hammond with my father and my uncle, Grant Harwell,
Mm-hmm.
In 1930. He's in the census, and I didn't know this until Overton McClendon
Yes.
told me, and I checked the census too, and he was the oldest slave to live in Hammond.
Oh, Grant was the oldest slave?
No, my father's father, his name was Orange Harwell.
Orange, okay. Is that Orange?
Right, He was in 1930, in the 1930 census, he was 80 years old.
Okay. The
He was
oldest
born
slave.
in Tennessee, though, in 1947. I mean, 1847.
Okay. In 1847. Okay.
But he's definitely in the census as being living here in Hammond with my uncle and my father in 1930.
Okay. So Orange had two kids, or at least Grant and your father.
Yeah, he had altogether it was about 13 of them, I believe.
Oh, he had 13 kids.
But 5 of them survived. I mean, 5 of them we know about,
Mm-hmm.
and they included my father, my uncle Grant, my aunt, we called her Aunt Shug, who was who married Eddie Alexander,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how the Alexanders came into, came to Hammond, such as T.J., Jewel, Alexander, that's those families.
Okay.
And I had an uncle that lived in Memphis, Uncle D, we call him.
Uncle D? D-E-E?
D-E-E.
Okay.
And I had an aunt, Mariah. And as a child, I remember that she lived in Dayton, Ohio. But she came to, after she, her husband died, she moved in with my family here in Hammond. And I I remember that was around, oh, let me see, was it 1959, somewhere around there.
Okay. Okay. What did your father tell you about Orange, other than he was a slave? Did you find out?
Okay, that's something that I didn't know
Oh, I get you.
until I read it, because he and he and Verna and someone else, they got together, and they wrote an article about my Uncle Grant,
Hmm.
and he was the first, of my family to move from Tennessee to Hammond, and
Okay.
it's more or less history of how he, when he came here, and how he sent for other family members, and how they came.
Right. And that was actually the norm back then, wasn't it?
Right.
People send
One
for family
person would
members.
get here, get a job, and then send for other family members, right?
Mm-hmm.
On all those other tapes I sent you, I think that you'll notice that
Right.
that was the trend.
Right. Right. And that really embodies the idea of it takes a family to raise a child too, or to raise your community. That's how we did it back then.
Right.
So do you, by any chance, through knowledge after you knew about Orange, eh, he was a slave actually in Tennessee at the time?
He was born a slave.
Okay. So he was born a slave, and did they ever say who, like slave masters and all that were? Like what family he worked for, or what plantation, or anything like that?
Uh, no,
No? Okay.
no.
Okay. And did your dad ever say what
You know
he
what?
got?
You know what?
Hmm.
Yeah, here's what I know. Here's what I think. I went through Ancestry, quite a bit. I used to belong to it.
Hmm.
Uh, I think my father's father, Orange Harwell, uh, was a slave under a slave owner by the name of Dr. Let's see, what's his first name? Dr. Harwell in
Okay.
Tennessee.
Okay. And so the slave.
And his parents were really, uh, uh, what's the name? Uh, Let me see. I don't know. I don't know if I sent you that article before or not, but let me hold on a second, will you?
Okay, sure.
uncle moving to Hammond,
Mhm.
and the people that followed him here,
Right.
early. That was back in the 30s and the 40s,
Mhm.
Um, I'll leave you a copy of it.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
I just looked
So,
at one of these booklets that I made when we had a family reunion in Grand Rapids, but it's not in there. So,
okay.
but I have it.
So,
I have it in the computer. So,
okay. Um, but what you do know is Dr. Harwell, who was
right. And here's what
white.
happened. Dr. Harwell, who was a slave owner,
Mhm.
um, uh, he well before I'm gonna say my uncle, grandfather Orange. Uh, what happened was his father was what's that name? Oh, that movie Walking Tall. What's the name of that? I can't call the name of it now. But his name was a different name. What happened? He goes back to the 1810 census,
Okay.
and but his name I can't call it right offhand. What happened? He was sold. No, actually as a slave to this Dr. Lawrence.
Dr.
I mean
Lawrence?
Dr. Harwell. That was his first
Okay.
name. I can't call it offhand right now. But um, what happened? When at that time, when they sold slaves, the families, some of the slaves accepted the last name of the new owner,
Mhm.
whereas others kept the name of they had, when they were under the slave master.
Oh, right. Okay. So he
And
had so Orange's father had a different last name, and then when Orange got with Dr. Harwell, he changed Orange's name to Orange Hardwell.
evidently yeah, right.
Right. Okay. And that was common practice.
That was common practice, right, down in the South there. That some slaves accepted a new name, and others they retained the name that they was sold as prior to you know, prior to being sold to the new slave master.
Right. Ironically, I was in Los Angeles working at CBS, and I was working on this as a page when I got out of college, and I was working on a show called Price is Right, and
I watch
I
that
was
every
working.
day.
Oh, okay.
Right,
Well,
every day.
I was I was on this line. All these people come from all over, America to get on
Get
that
on that
show
show, right?
and to win whatever, and we would put name tags on all these people just so Bob Barker could say their name, and
Right,
and Johnny Olson would say come on down, whoever.
right.
And right now I think it's Drew Carey does that, but I mean at
Yeah,
the
I
time it
watch
was.
it. I tape it every day too.
Oh, okay. Uh, but I was in this line, and all of a sudden I saw this guy. His name was Martis, but he was this white guy, and I was
Okay.
like, "Oh, so where are you from? Because my name's Martis too.
Uh-huh.
I'm from Alabama." And he was in insurance, and I said, I can't help but think that at one point your family were the masters of these slaves, and you named them Martis,
Uh-huh.
and that might have been how we got our name.
Right.
And so it just when you said that about Orange, it just hit sparked a memory that that must have been it. So since it was pervasive in all that area about naming, So, but yeah, I think that a lot of us have these names based on slave owners and this, that, and the other. But um, but anyway, so did Grant or Dee or anyone get anything from Orange in terms of any philosophies or I
Well,
mean,
not that I know of, see.
not you know, okay.
No, because, see, like I said, I but the only encounter I had that I remember, because my Orange, I was born in 31, and my uncle was here in 30, but he left here and went back down to Tennessee, see. He only stayed here short. I mean, he wasn't here for quite a few years. And on my mother's side, I never saw them, But
Okay. So growing up in that time, from 1931 to for 19 years, how did you see Hammond evolve? I mean, what did you see from? And it must not have been that many black people there. More, I guess, Polish and. Um,
yeah, it was primarily Polish, Hungarian, Germans.
Polish, Hungarian, and German.
Germans, right?
And
very few speckle blacks and Jews, I guess.
And so you guys were pretty much the first part of the first families that moved to Hammond.
Well, not really, because I think in the 1930 census that I think there's about 600 blacks.
600?
I think so. If you, I've counted. I think there's about 600 blacks.
Okay, and this was
total,
all in
with all the
Hammond?
kids, And
Okay. Okay. Well, that's different from kind of what I've been hearing. Is that they were scattered out, and I heard they like Fran Alexander and all them. And that there weren't that many blacks.
what Alexander?
Like Francis and their parents, like Jewel and all those guys.
Okay, Francis. Now, Francis, that was my father's sister.
Right.
Right, Francis Alexander, right.
Right. And
but
and
Jewel wasn't here in 1930.
Oh, they weren't here in 1930.
Oh, no, they came later. In fact, I showed them. I went down and helped them move. I was in the Air Force in 1951. I happened to be on leave, and I think I went down there to help them move from down south to Hammond.
Oh, okay. Okay. So your recollection is there was around 600 black people in East Hammond at that time?
I think so. I think I remember counting going through the census, and counting, all the ones that were, shown as being black, or Negroes at that time,
Right, right. And this was all in about 10 square blocks or East Hammond?
It was. I'll tell you where it's from. It was about 10 blocks. It was 2 blocks from. Let's see, the 900. 10 and 1100 blocks from 165th Street to Highland.
Right. And then.
And in fact, I'm going to tell you the first blacks to move in Hammond south of 165th Street was the House family.
Okay, House?
Right. That family. I remember. I don't know if Mildred House is still alive, but the family I remember Mildred House, Wilbur House, T.J. House, Audrey House. They used to live right across the street from us on Cleveland Street back in the 30s.
And they were the first family to move
To move south
Park?
of 165th Street in Hammond. They moved on Mulberry Street. I remember that. But they used to live right across the street from us on Cleveland in the 1000 block.
Okay. Okay. And so that, how did they open it up to blacks moving outside of East Mind? Or did
That's right. They sure did.
Okay.
The only blacks lived, no blacks lived south of that, and the only and East Hammond was only and down on off of downtown, near Calumet City and State Line.
Mm-hmm.
They had some blacks that lived there, on Plummer Street, we used to call it.
Mm-hmm. Plummer. Okay.
Right.
Okay. And what did most of the blacks do? Was it steel mill? I know
All
it was
of them.
industrialization.
All of them were in some factory of some type.
Some type of factory. Okay.
Right. And the women at that time, they did domestic work and for different white families, the ones that did work,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and my grandmother did that, Lily McClendon.
Who?
Lily. She lived on Phil Street. And Julia's sister, Lily.
Really?
My mother's mother. Yeah, she used to be a domestic, working families, taking care of their kids and, cleaning up and that whole stuff.
But I remember the name Billy.
Lily McClendon.
Oh, Lily. Oh, sure. Yeah, she married Bill McClendon, right?
Yeah, Ben McClendon.
Ben McClendon, yeah. He used to live on Cleveland next to us.
Yes.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure, I know your grandmother. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think Cecil Harper lived right across the street.
He did. They did. Right across the street, Cecil them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think...
In fact, she lived right about two doors or so from Dr. Bethia.
Dr. Bethia, right, because he used to come to us and fix us up when we were sick. In fact,
okay.
He was the only, I guess, roaming doctor or visiting doctor that did house calls.
Yeah, well, he was only at that time was the only black doctor in Hammond.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So do you know that they what was the situation about St. Margaret's Hospital and black doctors?
I never knew anything about that, but all I know that Dr. Bethia, he delivered me, and
okay.
And about, I heard over 2,000 babies he delivered, But he delivered white and black,
Mm-hmm.
But
right.
I heard that probably when I was born, I don't know how true it was that he didn't have admitting privileges at St. Margaret's.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you've heard that before or not.
Yeah, he didn't have, he couldn't admit you to St.
Right,
Margaret's. Uh-huh. Okay, and then so most of his deliveries were just home deliveries then? You go to your house and deliver?
Oh, definitely. Definitely, right.
Mm-hmm. During that time, did they have these midwives who...
I never heard of midwives in Hammond.
Oh, okay.
It was primarily down south,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and usually in the farming communities, where there were no doctors,
Right. Right. Well, he had a big caseload. I mean,
oh,
he
yeah.
was the only black doctor handling every because he was a general practitioner, so he handled every issue in the black community. And I understand they since made a Dr. Bethia Street named after him.
Yeah, well, it's 2 blocks.
2 blocks, okay.
Right, on Phil Street,
Mm-hmm.
in the 1000 block and 1100 block.
Okay, well, we'll take it.
Uh-huh.
So, do you know now? Speaking of that contribution, Dr. Bethia has a street, and I think Reverend Burns has a street. Is there anybody else who has a street in Hammond?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay, just those 2.
Just those 2.
Okay. And so, like, I'm now referring just to the 19 years, the first 19 years that you were there. What was the air like in terms of what you guys used to do for fun, for not fun? I'm just wondering what was it like? And I know, like, for example, Conkey Street was at one point was a cobblestone, and I guess a train.
That was it. It was, I'll tell you, Maywood Park. We should spend some time during the summer months when the weather warranted. We would stay at the park mostly all day, swimming.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the the pool that before they built the new pool, it was a large swimming pool with dirt surface in it.
Okay.
It was not cement. It was dirt. But
and so it wasn't enclosed or anything.
No, it was open.
Okay.
And so far as on Conkey Street, I think Brooks House was the main attraction for us as kids growing up.
Okay. So between between those 2 areas, and did it appear that blacks were poor, or you didn't know you were poor, or you just, what did it feel like? Did it feel like you were in a ghetto, or what did it feel like to you?
I don't know. To me, we didn't know we were poor, really, even though I'm going to tell you how poor that we were. I remember sometimes that we used to take cornmeal
Mm-hmm.
and cook it like you did farina and grits, and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And that's all we had to eat. Right.
Okay.
Right. Really, some days. I remember that.
Yeah.
I don't know. We were poor, but didn't know.
Right. I think it was such a community, even when I was growing up, and you were, way before me, but that even though you didn't have a lot, it didn't feel like you were in a ghetto. It didn't feel like you were in a black neighborhood. And I remember sometimes we had to go and get food from, go over Auntie Robbie's house on Moss Street and eat. And this is when after Mom and Dad divorced. But there was always something to eat.
There was always something, because we learned to eat, anything to survive,
Right. And the snack was you lick your finger and you stick it in the sugar bowl.
Well, another thing is true that anything that when you sat down at the table, anything you put on your plate, you had to eat it.
That is exactly right. And to this day,
Uh-huh.
I have to eat it's just normal. I just eat everything on my plate. Want it or not, I just eat everything. So I don't eat till I'm full. I eat till it's gone.
Right. Uh-huh.
And I just learned that from, you know,
And I learned something else, and not to ask for something and you know what it is, and they put it on your plate. Well, you had to eat it.
you had to eat it.
I was going to Hammond High even when I remember my cousin Verna Alexander, TJ's sister and Julian's sister. She lived over in Sand Bottom, and I remember I stopped by there on my way from school one day, and she had some Jell-O with cottage cheese.
Oh, yeah, right.
And I asked for some because I'd never had cottage cheese before, and she gave me a plate full of that with Jell-O, and I couldn't eat it, but I had to. She made me eat it.
You better eat that, right?
Right. And she is a person. She used to live on Cleveland Street with us too at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 11 years old. I remember that. And she, when I was 11 years old, she kept telling me that when Santa Claus come, because I was naughty, that I was going to get a stocking full of ashes.
A stocking full of ashes? Is that what you said?
And I did.
Oh, you mean they actually put a stocking full of ashes?
Right. And that was when I learned. I was 11 years old.
Bet you
Who
had to
Santa
straighten
Claus
up.
was. Huh?
Bet you had to straighten up if you didn't want ashes next year.
Well, I mean, I didn't have an opportunity that year because Santa Claus gave me those ashes.
That's funny. Um, so tell me about the kids that you hung out with, and what you guys did. Just some of your buddies that we now know.
Well, I grew up with I hung out at like it's either usually at the park or Brooks House with Cecil Hopper and Howard Davis. We used to call him T-Wee. Well, T-Wee was one of my best friends. James Harper. We went to Hammond High together. But it was always on Conkey Street until you reached a certain age. You couldn't go into some of those places where they served alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
So,
Have you been in any of those? You're talking about on the 1000 block of or the 1100 block of Conkey.
right,
Yeah. So have you been in any of those? Can you describe any of that?
Oh, yeah, we used to go to, I can't call the name of the places anymore, but I used to go to the, Masonic Hall, which was right next to the drugstore in the corner there of Howard and Conkey. I used to go to down the street, on the side of the pool room.
That pool room is Fran's father's pool room, right? Alexander's father.
No.
Whose pool room was that?
Jack
Jack Ruffin?
Ruffin, I think. I think his brother Herbert too used to own that pool room.
Okay. Because I thought Fran's father had a pool room there too.
No, Jewel Alexander? No, he never had a pool room.
Okay.
No, never.
Okay. Now, did you know Archie Moore?
No, no, I didn't.
Okay. Because he had a thing called Trinity Hall. Some hall out there. Maybe that was when you left. Um, okay. So Jack Ruffin and Herbert had a pool hall there. Okay.
Right.
And so was that a drinking pool hall, or is it just sports kind of?
I was just, they had, it was sports, I think, just pool tables, and that was mainly it,
Okay. And a lot of mess talking, just pool tables.
Right.
Okay. So those bars, did you, and I know that all during the week, black people would work in the factories and they would let their hair down on Friday and Saturday in these pool halls and stuff. And it seemed like, Conkey Street was the major street, major thoroughfare where people would go and do whatever they needed to do to let their hair down and to, get the stress and strain out.
Right.
But so did you see anything that happens in the pool halls, or did you go inside, or did you, could you describe any part of the pool hall, or not the pool hall, but the bars and that whole thing, or did you ever go into any bars?
No, I didn't go into any bars.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't drink, and I didn't start smoking until I was 19. So.
Oh, okay. You started when you left and went to the military? Okay. Okay. It seems like that's what people did. All the movies that I see, once you got there, you just picked up a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah, and I remember when I first started smoking, even in the military, in basic training, sometimes 4 or 5 people, white and black, would smoke the same one cigarette, take puffs,
Oh, and pass it around.
Right.
Okay. So any other things about Conkey Street that stands out to you?
No, not just what you said. It was a place to go to listen to the jukebox, and people would dance and enjoy themselves. They had I think you could buy beer in a couple of those places, but there are not no taverns or
right.
regular bars as with bars,
Right. So there are certain people that I want you just to chime in on if you know anything about these people, like Miss Riley. Do you know her?
Yes, I know Miss Riley. Miss Riley was very well known in Hammond when I grew up, and she attended my church at Mount Zion. She used to be the pianist at Mount Zion. She was a Sunday school teacher. She was well known.
Okay.
I used to go to her house when they lived on Conkey and practice on her piano.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, was she a piano teacher too, or did she help out in that respect with the kids?
No, she was not a teacher, but her playing like mine was limited. I was learning. We could play the hymns, and no, she was not a teacher, and I mean, she's not a music teacher, no.
Oh, I get you. And what about her son, James Edwards? What do you know about him?
I didn't know any. I remember him growing up, but I knew nothing about him except uh, that he left Hammond and maybe became a movie star.
Mhm.
That's that's about all I know about him.
Okay. Um. So what do you know about J.P. Davis?
I don't know much. What I know about JP and I became friends after I returned to Hammond in 1991. Uh, and he became a close friend of mine. I used to help him with different things. He was uh, at one time he ended up being a superintendent of the sanitation department in
Okay.
Hammond. And when I returned to Hammond, he was still, I think, in that position until he retired. And he was the president of the Hammond NAACP branch for at
Okay.
least 8 years. And I became a member while he was the president. And
Okay. Did Do you remember him doing any programs or anything under his tutelage? Did he do anything significant with the NAACP during his reign that you remember?
Not that I can really recall. I know because of his connection with the city and some of the banks, he used to for the our annual Freedom Fund dinner or luncheon.
Uh-huh.
He had connections that with let's say, well, one of them is one of the bank presidents. He would oversee, go to different banks in Hammond and get them to purchase tables, for the event. In fact, JP, I remember that he used to because of Mr. Bellamy, who was the owner of Calumet National Bank at that time.
Uh-huh.
He would get as many as 135 tickets from the various banks for these
Okay.
events, for this event, each year.
Okay. So he was pretty progressive with the um, NAACP in terms of fundraising and this, that, and the other because of
Yes,
his
right.
outreach. Okay. What was the name of that bank that you said?
Calumet National Bank.
Calumet National. Okay.
It became the First Midwest Bank. The owner sold it to that corporation.
Okay. Did you hear of any maybe civil rights issues that he
Was
kind of?
involved in?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Do you think Hammond was going through any? I'm sure during that time there was a lot of racism and this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
So do you remember any issues that Hammond went through that maybe was spearheaded by the NAACP or Mr. Davis or just in general? Do you remember any of those issues that they had to overcome to make a better East Hammond? Or
No.
at least
No, because when I was here, that's when I think when Pearline Jenkins was the president, that's when they uh, had, I mean, they really accomplished, different things. Um, and I think that was at the time when Annie became the first black teacher here,
Mm-hmm.
and
Annie
having
Hicks.
an
Uh-huh.
ACP, they went to court and helped her, But
Okay.
I don't think during JP's tenure that much was, accomplished and so forth as
Civil rights and stuff.
right,
Okay. So you mentioned Pearline Jenkins, and I know she lived on Conkey Street.
right.
Well, and what do you know about her?
Okay, I knew her real well because she was the clerk at Mount Zion, and she was a pretty feisty person that got the respect of everyone, and she did. Well, she was president of ACP for about Hammond Branch, I guess, for about almost 20 years. And
And this was after JP?
no, before.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Before. And she, I know she received various awards, state awards. She even received an award from the state for her NAACP service, So
Okay. Okay.
she was a person that I think that different people they respected.
Mm-hmm. Were the awards that she received specifically from the NAACP, or did other state agencies?
I think it's from she received the award from the state.
Oh, from the state, the actual government. Okay.
Right, different, yeah.
Okay. So you would consider her a true mover and shaker in Hammond?
Oh, without a doubt, right.
Mm-hmm. So
But who can tell you more about her is Albertine.
Mm-hmm. Or her daughter. Mm-hmm.
No,
No,
Albertine.
that's not Albertine's daughter. That's Hannah Cherry. Is
Right,
Okay. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I reached out to Albertine to ask her if she could write a bio, because I was looking for a bio on her, and I don't know who had one, so I figured, oh well, maybe she can write one on her.
Well, did she?
She hasn't given it to me yet, and that's why I'm trying to get.
I'm going to see her this evening, and I'll ask her because she's the one who got those tapes from the lady that did the interviews that I sent you.
Yes, yeah. Well, I eventually got them from you because I asked her for the tapes as well, and but I recently asked her for 3 bios: one from her, one from Hannah, and one from Pearline. And,
Okay.
Because I figured she can definitely do hers. She can definitely do her mom's.
And she knew more about Pearline because Pearline was more or less like her, what do you call her, the term den mother?
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah, she
Well, that would be great if you could just mention it to her. Just say, hey, I talked to Bob, and
Okay.
He's putting.
I'll see her this evening. I told you we go into that Hammond Hall of Fame dinner tonight, where my nephew will be inducted into it. Leroy Harwell.
Yes, Leroy. Uh-huh. If you could grab an extra program, that would be great.
Okay, well, I will. And Also, I'll be able to ask Janet, my niece Janet, my cousin Janet Harwell. Her name is Janet Amos now, but she was born Janet Harwell. She's the second black teacher in Hammond.
Okay.
And I told you I was going to ask her if she could. I can give her phone number.
Oh, that would be great.
So you can talk with her.
Is it Janet?
She'll be with us.
Janet, Janet?
Janneth.
Janneth. Oh, Janet. Okay.
Last name is Amos.
Right.
That was her married name. But she was born a Harwell. Her father was my uncle Grant Harwell.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Grant, dad. Okay. Yeah. She would be a good person to talk to, being the second teacher there. So I would assume Annie was the first.
Yes, Annie was the first.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And
it was funny about the superintendent at that time. He said that before he would hire a black teacher in Hammond, it would be over his dead body or something like that. Well, it came to pass exactly what happened. He died shortly after or something like that.
After he said that, well, with progress, you gotta
right.
Gotta go. Oh, that's interesting. So what do you know about Claude Mayberry?
Okay, again, Janet is the one. I told you that was her uncle. Her mother's brother was Claude Mayberry.
Okay. And, I listed him as one of these movers and shakers, too. But do you know anything about him?
What I know about Claude was my uncle married her sister, Grant Harwell.
Mm-hmm.
But what I know about Claude was he was a deacon at our church. He was high up in the Masonics. But I don't know too much about what he did, his occupation and all that,
Mm-hmm. And how was he revered around town?
He was one of the ones that was respected. That he was highly recognized.
Mm-hmm. Okay, recognized around town as a person who did stuff and got stuff done. Would he be one of those people that if somebody wanted to get something done, they would go to him, like a
I
Reverend
think
Burns?
so.
Okay. And so you're not sure what his profession was?
No, I'm not sure what Claude did.
Okay. And obviously Reverend Burns, but what do you have any anecdotes or any experiences with Reverend Burns?
Yes, when Reverend Burns first came to Hammond and took over as the pastor at Mount Zion, and he was living in Hessville at that time. And I think I told you this before. In a railroad, one of those railroad caboose, like.
Right.
And I used to go over there every weekend and type up the bulletin for Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the church had just bought a mimeograph at that time. That's what they used, and with the stencil. Do you remember that?
Right, right, right.
Yeah, and I would go over there and type up the bulletins at his where he lived at, with
Hmm.
him and Mrs. Burns. He had the 3 kids at that time, I think. And but shortly after that, see, I went into the military. This was around 1947, and I
Okay.
went into the military in 49.
Hmm. Okay,
And
yeah.
in fact, that was the year that they moved from the old Mount Zion in 49 uh, on the corner of Tapper and Kenwood, by the
Mhm.
coal yard.
Okay, yeah.
Do you remember it being there?
Yes. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I remember marching with them to the new building on the corner of Kenwood and Howard, where it presently is.
Hmm.
And then that was in May, I believe, of 1949. And then in August, I went into the Air Force in 49.
Okay, okay. Do you remember what it took to get the new building built? Um, what he had to do, and um, I know he had to obviously raise money and secure the land and this, that, and the other. But do you remember any of that?
No, I don't. No.
Okay. Um, and what about do you remember anything about the new facility on Kenwood? Where people, I guess people can live there, and what's it
Oh,
called?
no, you talking about the Mount Zion Pleasant View Plaza?
Yes.
The Senior Citizen Building, right?
Yeah. So it's a senior citizen building as well as you can live there.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's a housing complex.
Housing complex, right?
It's under what section it's called? Under Section 202 of the 202 Section 8.
Hmm. Oh, it's a Section 8 regulated building.
Yes, I just checked this out about in the last week or so.
Oh, okay.
Somebody had a question. They wanted to know what was the age before you can live in that building, and so I just went on online and pulled up some information on it, and I found out that it was a Section 8, but I knew that it was 202 because David Jasper Jr. had told me that before, but I never did inquire into what it was. But Section 202 is for the very low income,
Hmm.
residents.
Okay. What's
And
the age?
it is part of Section 8. Section 8 has about 5 or 6 different categories.
Oh, I get you. Okay. And how old do you have to be to move in?
62.
62. Oh, okay. So it's about. Do you think it's about at least 50 units there?
It's 127 units.
Oh, okay. Well, let's double that. 127 units. So that's a pretty big
Right.
structure. And is that run by Mount Zion, or is it run by the state or
Oh,
city?
no, the state has nothing to do with it. It's run by Mount Zion, has a board of directors, but
Oh,
it's the people that administer, I guess, have the contract with HUD is called Triangle Corporation out of Indianapolis.
okay. So they run it
Right.
out of Indy. Okay.
So it's a HUD building. I remember this at one of the church meetings before Reverend Burns retired. I asked the question about when would the building became the sole property of Mount Zion, and he told told me, he said, his exact words, he said, Brother Harwell, you and I both will be dead before that, when that mortgage is paid off, you know. So
okay.
once the
So
mortgage is paid off, then it's going to revert to the board of directors of Mount Zion.
oh, okay. So is it? Did they get the money basically the normal way, where you go to the bank and get a loan, or did the congregation put monies together and?
Oh no, they had to do this through a loan, you know.
Oh, standard loan. Okay.
Right, I'm sure of that. Right, and that's why they have the mortgage, you know.
Mhm.
And evidently, Triangle take care of that, you know. The company in Indianapolis. I know this. They're dealing with the NAACP and with other things that whenever they have a function and they want to purchase and they want to purchase tickets or ads, they get the money from Triangle. They issue the checks to them, you know.
Oh, okay. So, let me switch reels for a second. That Jules Stein Institute or building, right across from the park. Julia Steen.
Oh, okay.
Ophelia
I was
Steen.
once a director over there.
Okay. So now where did, excuse me for not knowing, but I did not hear her name coming up when I was in.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something. I never heard the name myself until I came back here.
Okay.
Ophelia Steen.
Ophelia Steen, right.
Right,
So
she came from East Chicago.
Okay, she's from East Chicago.
And somehow or another, she was involved with Brooks House, too. And I don't know. I think that she is the one who tried to get a replacement for Brooks House after they knew that they were going to, they were going to demolish it.
Right. Right. Was there a reason why it was demolished or torn down? I mean, did they say it was old and decrepit, or I
think that the people that funded it, they no longer, they gave up on it, and I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay. But when they tore it down, was it under the idea that, we're going to tear this down to build a newer one?
No. Once it's torn down, then that's where the effort came in to replace it with, and for some reason or another, this lady's name was the one. When they replaced it, they wanted to replace it and have her name as the cornerstone for the building.
Okay. So her claim to fame was the fact that she worked at Brooks House, and then she wanted to get a new Brooks House made.
Right.
Okay. All right. I just want to put it in perspective of who she was, and I know I saw a picture of her name on a plaque on the building and stuff, so I know it gives a little bit more information about her. But I definitely like to get some information about who she was, because it'd have to be more than just she worked at Brooks House and she tried to get.
Yeah. Have you tried to Google it yet?
No, I need to do that.
Yeah, you ought to do that. Just Ophelia Steen, Hammond, Indiana, and see what comes up.
Okay. And also, like I got that article from James Edwards that I think you gave it to Dad and Dad gave it to me. But if you have any other scanned articles, I'm trying to put in this website that we're building, we're trying to make people researchable.
Mm-hmm.
So when you type in a name, things come up. So if you
Right.
do have any of those older articles that, and then it doesn't matter how old or new it is, we're going to make PDFs out of it so people can actually research people. And see, the idea with just this project too is that the kids from Hammond High, there's no longer a tech, but I think it's like an educational center now or something. But if once they're given projects like historical projects about their history and their any of that, that there are people that things are researchable, and certainly the people like Claude Mayberry's and Joe Alexander's and yourself and just different people need to be researchable, and right now it's getting this firsthand information from people like you is important, because once it's transcribed and put in these books, I think it's we need people who know these people and who know themselves and this, that, and the other, because in a while, and I think in about 30 years, that's all going to be gone in terms of a memory of who these people were and how Hammond was built. So, and even what the fact that we may have been poor, but we didn't know that we were poor, is important. But we still
We were happy with what we
right.
had. Well, because there's another reason why is because of our belief in God. Our religion.
Mhm.
No, we grew up. I grew up before TV was created. And we spent time at church and
Mhm. Well, that's when people weren't in front of their cell phones and
right,
television
that's
and
before
computers.
cell phone.
You went out and you physically talked to people,
Right,
and you went outside and you played. You were talking about going to the park. You would stay in the park all day.
right.
Um, and I remember going to the park and they filled it up with water during the winter, and we used it as an ice skating rink. I mean,
Well, we're talking about Maywood Park, right?
right,
You
right.
remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I remember.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The
And
same thing. However, I'll tell you this, I tried ice skating once, and I couldn't stand up on them, and I never tried again.
well, I got it down to a science, so I love that ice skating rink.
Uh-huh,
And it was a free thing, just as long it was cold
uh-huh.
outside, and you put water and cold equal ice, so we had a free thing to do. So
Okay.
so yeah, I mean that's when I guess society was the only rule was you be in the house before the lights came on, on the street lights.
Mm-hmm.
So and so yeah, hanging out that park was, I mean, in my time we hung out at the park, and I mean there were times where we had to stay on the block when that was a mandate by don't you leave this block. If you do, we'll come find you. So, we did what we had to do. But I think uh, that social element was a key element that indoctrinated people into just people as opposed to machines. Um, I think to this day there are certain people, older generation, who don't use computers and this. That my dad doesn't use a computer, and um, but those are the things that we do. But I think that's that social element is just really needed um, and that's what kind of brings people together. It's hard to bring people together when everybody's at their home, you know, on their phone, you know, 'cause
Well, they don't stay home now. They use the phone. They use everywhere you go.
oh yeah,
I see. I just saw a sign yesterday. I went to pick up a heating pad for my leg,
mm-hmm.
and it had a sign up there. We'd be glad to serve you when you finish your telephone conversation. Really, you know, that's how bad it is. People with these cell phones, you know.
Oh yeah.
Doctors' offices, everywhere. In fact, mine have gone off before. I never use mine unless it's really. I don't use my cell phone as just to carry on nonsense, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh
It's
right,
the reason
right.
when I, in fact, I leave mine at home most of the time. I forget to take it with me. But I carry mine just in case of emergency more than anything else.
Right. Oh yeah.
But,
And I mean, you know, those are. But you know what? We're connected to you know, our phones and our Twitters and our Facebooks and this, that, and the other, and you go through withdrawals now without, you know, without that kind of, you know, social media or communication. And I mean, it's good and it's bad. It's bad because it disconnects you from the communication that you have with regular people.
right.
But it's good that it does connect you with people. I mean, there are people that, like Wanda Lagarde, who live right next door to Dad. I connected with her through Facebook and through other means, you know, and you start to figure out what a person's doing by just looking at their timeline and says, oh yeah, she just did this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's good. And then you can get messages out to a number of people immediately. If you have 5,000 followers, which I do have on my Facebook, I can send a message. Yes.
Wow.
And I can send something and boom, 5,000 people know about it immediately. So that there's some benefit in that. And so, but you can't make it everything. You know, you still have to, you know, knock on somebody's door and go to lunch with them. I mean, that's just a different thing. And you know, that's what I was going to ask you too. Give me your perspective on the McDonald's crew. On, yeah, I know you guys sometimes go to McDonald's, which is actually
I go
a
up
good
there
thing.
every day, right?
So who's the group? Who are the guys that are up there? You know, what are their names? The different groups.
Well, it's just individuals, you know, that we have, you know what, believe it or not, there's a bishop that comes up there that plays, he plays chess occasionally. We have ministers. We have, I know there are three ministers that's up there as the regulars. One of them is the pastor of a church even.
Okay.
His church is in East Chicago, but he lives in Hammond, so he's up there every day when he's not, when he's, because he works nights, you know, straight nights. He's up there in the morning, you know, breakfast time, and he's also involved with the funeral home. And so I think he drives for some of for funerals. So when he's not doing that, he usually stops up there every day.
What's his name?
Mark Frazier.
Mark Frazier. Okay.
Right.
What's the bishop's name?
I don't know his first name, but his last name is Johnson.
Johnson. Okay.
Right. He's the bishop for that church on 8th Street.
Mm-hmm.
That Apostolic Church.
Right.
Yeah, but but he's a bishop, and he come in there and sit down and chat on, carry on with us, you know.
So
He's
who
a lot
else
of
is there? I know Dennis is there.
Yeah, my brother Dennis.
Hmm.
He doesn't miss a day. A guy by the name of Nolan McLernan.
Michael who?
McLernan.
Lernan.
Yeah, McLernon, I believe it is. McLernan.
Okay.
We have Mark's brothers up there every day. Willie Frazier. Their father used to be the pastor at New Hope Church, Baptist Church.
Oh, yeah. Willie's father?
Pardon?
Who used to be? Was it Willie's father?
Mark and Willie Frazier.
Okay.
Their father was the pastor at New Hope for a while.
Okay.
Until they had I heard that they chased him away.
Oh, okay.
They voted him out or something like that. There was something about even people with guns and all that stuff.
Oh, my. That's drastic. You just tell me to leave, and I'm gone.
Yeah, I wasn't here when that happened, though. So, and some of these names you never heard them. You know, Joe Nobles. Let me see. Willie Rimbers, he's there every day.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know him.
Mm-hmm.
He used to be over with the Little League or something, you know.
Right.
Jimmy Davis.
Okay.
Those are some of the names.
So at any given time, there could be about, 8 people? I know everybody doesn't come every day, but...
Right. Yeah, it's usually about 8 to 10, you know.
8 to 10 a day. Okay.
But there's two groups usually. One coming there early, 7 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's between 6 and 8, I'd say. And then they leave, and then the other group come in later, you know. The people I'm talking about, I just mentioned, they come in a little later.
So does McDonald's allot anything for the group, or do they say, okay, I'll give you coffees half off or something, or
No.
they don't do anything? They just
No.
give you a place. So
Right,
you guys
and
treat it like...
and I'm going to tell you, even though I don't know why they allow some of those, all that loudness and the profanity and all that stuff, I don't know why they allow it, but you know what? I think it's one reason, because that group evidently has prevented anyone trying to rob that place.
Ah, that's true too, because you got a bunch of men there.
Right, and I've heard that there have been people that come in there and look like their intent was to rob, you know, stick the place up, but they see those men sitting over there, and they know that some of them have guns on them too, you know. So, and they do.
You got yours, I got mine. Okay.
Well, they do.
That's funny. Well, that's good. It to kind of treat it like in other cities they have Starbucks and treat it like a Starbucks kind of thing. And I know that Hammond just got, I think, their first Starbucks. Was it off of Indianapolis or somewhere?
Yeah, right across from that new Walmart.
Yes. Yeah, I know Dad was talking about ain't nobody gonna pay $3, $4 for a cup of
For a cup
coffee.
of coffee, right?
So, and I know McDonald's you can get it for $1. So,
Yeah, we get it for 60. What? It's not 60. No, now it's 74 cents with tax, right?
oh, okay. Well, that's good for a cup of coffee, 74 cents. That's what it should be. Oh, you
And
just get a
and you get
senior
a
rate.
refill all day. I mean, if you want refill, you stay there 4 hours. As long as you want to, you get refills
Oh,
at no cost. Once you
okay.
purchase, your first cup.
Oh, well, 74 cents goes a long way at McDonald's.
Right.
So, and you got the little television there, and
Hmm.
so it's almost like a social club.
Right, right. That's what.
Well, that's good. Well, I have a lot of stuff, and I might be calling you to get some more information, but I'm gonna find out some more other information about what you're going through, and but I'm definitely gonna send that zip file. And
Okay.
when you open it, there's about, I don't know, maybe 8 or so PDFs in there, and so you can just look at it.
Okay.
But I would say certainly call Dr. Seavey just to see what they could do. Um, I would, that Cuba connection, I would want to know everything about that because that's a key thing. Um, so you find out more about that. Um, but we'll be talking. Um,
Okay, Bobby.
all right. Thanks for talking to me.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.